I am Charlotte Garrido. Thank you for inviting us here today. I am the County Commissioner for District 2. Kitsap County provides for the health, welfare, and safety of Kitsap citizens, and the role of a commissioner is very complex. Basically, we are the executive and legislative body, and in some land use cases, we have a mandate to be quasi-judicial. However, we have delegated most of that the land use responsibility to the hearings examiner. We work with all departments of county government. We need to have some kind of sense of what each department does. And then there are a number of departments that report directly to us. Those include administrative services, IT, community development, public works, personnel and human services, parks, and facilities. So we need to have much more understanding of what those departments do. You know that this has been a tough 4 years. We in county government have experienced the same kind of recession, economic recession, that every one of you has, and those of people across the county and the nation. And I'm really proud of the way that the Board of County Commissioners has addressed our reduced revenues, the significantly reduced revenues. We worked together as a board. We worked with other elected officials. We brought in employees as well as other citizens to be able to help advise us on how to be strategic about reducing our revenue, our expenditures, and actually making our expenditures compatible with our reduced revenues. I think we did a very, very good job, and we worked well together to be able to do that. So we have a $320 million budget, and I would think it's a complex thing, not for someone who's inexperienced, and I would ask for your support for my continuing for 4 more years.
Okay, Chris.
Hi, I'm Christine Danielson. I've seen some of you before, and I'm happy to meet new faces here. I have ran for office before because I believe that it is my duty to give to my community, do what I can, help where I can, and try and make a difference. Right now, in my position in life, I have the ability and the opportunity to dedicate at least a minimum of 4 years to run for County Commissioner. And I'd like to thank Charlotte for her years of public service. It's a very thankless job. You have a lot of people in the community who either love you, hate you, or will criticize you any opportunity they get. I'm running this year because we are, as Charlotte said, in a very economic tough time. We need to start doing things differently in this county. What we've been doing did not prepare us for this economic time, and I'm afraid that we did not learn from our mistakes. I have all of the experiences that, as Charlotte pointed out, are necessary for a county commissioner. My background in case analysis as a paralegal, looking at the laws, reviewing the laws. My background, I had a real estate, being a property development company that I'm working with, and I'm recently retired as president of a multi-million-dollar corporation that, when I took over, was wasting thousands of dollars monthly. I went in, I streamlined the business, I made it more efficient, I made it actually a lucrative business, which then I sold out my shares, and now that is why I'm in this position to have more time to give back to the community.
Larry.
I'm Larry Coppola. I think we all recognize that this is perhaps one of the most important elections in recent memory. This economy is the new normal, whether we like it or we don't. And I believe that the county has 3 major issues facing it: the budget, and the budget. As Mayor of Port Orchard, I wrote and administered the city's $30+ million budget, put private sector business practices in place resulted in the state auditor saying that Port Orchard could serve as the example of how government should handle its citizens' money. I'm very proud of that. I'm also the only person here that has both private sector business and government budgeting experience. I have 5 simple goals. I want to restore public safety. It's time for the county to stop gutting the sheriff's department every time that the budget gets tight, divert money to feel-good things and personal vendettas. We're currently 37th out of 39 counties in deputies per population. I think we need to fix that. We need to reopen the county for business 5 days a week. And I believe there's more than adequate ways to do that. People pay for a full-time government. It's time that they got one again. I want to establish what's called the LEAN program. I don't know if you're familiar with that or not. It's a Six Sigma business process management tool, and it will force county government, county department heads and everybody else to work together. It's been used very successfully in King County. I believe they saved $13 million last year using it. I want to create a positive business climate for the county. I want to do that doing a couple of different things. Reduce regulation. Do we have a need for regulation? Yes, we do. But we also have a lot of conflicting, redundant, outdated, and all kinds of other regulations that we need to take a top-down look at and implement what makes sense and get rid of what's out of the way. I'm out of time. I only had one other thing.
Real quick, give us the last one. Real quick.
I want to reduce permitting time. That also goes with creating a positive business climate. A business comes to town, they want to be up and running in about 120 days under construction. You can't hardly get a permit reviewed, in a permit application reviewed in 120 days, much less get a permit. So that's my story.
Hi, my name is Linda Simpson. I too am running for South Kitsap County Commissioner, District 2. I'm a transplant from California. I went to UC Santa Cruz for my undergraduate degree in biology. So as a hard science, what do? We analyze data and we come to a conclusion. We use the scientific method to come up with a model that works. I have worked also in the private sector. I worked for a large multi-million-dollar grocery store chain in California. I put myself through college without student loans. So I worked from courtesy clerk all the way up to acting assistant manager. I was a bookkeeper. I stocked shelves in the nighttime. I was one of the best bookkeepers in a quarter. I was actually off a quarter. I was off 25 cents. So I can manipulate numbers. I'm good at numbers. In college at UC Santa Cruz, I got hundreds in my calculus exams. So I have the intelligence to look at the data and analyze that data and come up with a good conclusion. So I do have the business experience. I moved up here. My husband is from here. He's a Kitsap County Deputy Sheriff in 1997. In 2000, I joined the United States Navy Reserve. I am currently a mineman is my billet. I cannot assemble underwater mines at the moment. I lost my leg last September in a motorcycle accident. My leg was crushed when a minivan didn't see me. So if you ride motorcycles, please, aftermarket horns, aftermarket lights. I had every single piece of personal protective gear on, and he didn't see me with my bright orange vest. So in 2010, I was here because I ran against Fred Finn for the 35th legislative seat. And I am very proud to say after that election, Fred Finn and I are friends. Fred and his family were the first people who sent me flowers in Harborview the very day after my accident. To this day, I keep forgetting to ask him how he found out so soon that I was actually at Harborview. But that means a lot to me that we're friends. We constantly hear about the budget being the problem. Yes, the budget is a problem, but if we had increased revenues, the budget wouldn't be such a problem. So, already?
Yep.
Okay.
You got another 10 seconds to finish your sentence at least, so.
Yeah, that's what
Okay.
happens.
You're right. It's kind of like you think, oh my gosh, I've got 2 minutes. And then before you know it, you have no more minutes, no more seconds.
We'll ask a budget question to make it up.
I figured you would.
The first thing that I was going to ask about, it's a little different than just strictly budget, but Larry mentioned it, Chris kind of alluded to it with your background in Charlotte. You answered one of our questions on our site in this way, talking about how we make the county government leaner, because I think that's everyone would agree that's kind of the direction things are headed. It's already happened a few times. You've reduced the budget the last couple of years. Each time you had to do that. And so I think what we need to hear from you is tell us the ones that have worked, that you think has worked in county government, and what are you looking at next? And then for the rest of you, I'd like to hear your ideas. How are you going to implement this lean thing? What have you learned that you can apply right away? So
Sure.
we'll kind of do the same order.
Right. Actually, we've done a lot of innovations in electronics has helped an awful lot. The paperless operations are happening in a number of departments across county government. District court is pretty much entirely paperless, even doing signatures electronically. You can see that the commissioners don't carry around our huge fat notebooks anymore. We just look at a computer for most of our meetings. We actually have already introduced lean. The Board of Commissioners did ask some time ago for the Department of Community to take a look at it, and they did their training last week, and with their permitting department, which has greatly reduced their time for permits over the last few years anyway. But they did a very impressive exercise of mapping a line map with sticky notes across a wall of all the tasks involved with the permitting process and the different people in the department, and it was really heavy laden with all those little sticky note tasks. And then on the opposite wall during the week, they began to talk about how they were going to reduce waste and add value for every action that they were taking. And how they would do that was on the opposite wall by the end of the week. And it is dramatically reduced with the number of actions that they will be taking. Mostly they also will be paperless because they'll be scanning any application and handing back the original papers to the applicant, so that they will have most of everything they do electronically.
And the idea is this would go through all departments?
The idea is that they will go through all of their divisions, and I believe that it is such an attractive model that other departments are going to want to adopt it as well.
Are any of your people certified?
In lean?
Black belt or green belt in the lean process?
Not that I know of. What I believe we did is brought 2 consultants in to do the training. I don't know about the green or black belt, and we'll ask that question.
That's Six Sigma.
And the question again was,
There have already been reductions that have forced this upon the county in certain ways. Charlotte has said we're already on the track of doing this. Larry said that's a goal of his, and you would refer to your own business experiences doing this sort of.
right.
That's what I heard.
Yes, and
So
that
say
is
how-
it.
tell
That
me
is
how you
exactly
apply.
it. Well, I really like the fact that they're doing this now, but this is something that does need and should have been going on throughout all the departments. And when you get in there and you look at the different departments and you see what they're doing, I know across other counties who are facing the same situation that we are, that they're also in the DCD division looking to do more private sector partnership, going outside for inspectors or different things like that that can possibly be used to speed up the process, to keep people going in the regulation. The other thing that I think is very important on what we need to be doing in our county is getting it back open to 5 days a week. And I think that can be done streamlined more to looking at each department and looking at more flex time of hours of operation. I mean, do we need to have every department staffed full-time every day? I know in any other business you have your flex time, your busy times, your Tuesdays are good, Wednesdays are slow, Fridays are busy, everybody wants to get it in by the end of the week. I mean, these are things that we can look at, that we should be looking at in ways to perform, as I say, customer service. Because this is what our government is. We're performing services for our citizens. And those services should be there and be operating efficiently and most definitely cost effectively towards our citizens. Each department, I think, working with the department heads, I'd like to see a shift of this is our budget, and this is what we're doing, and too much in government, we get the, if I don't spend all my budget money, I won't get any more money, and you find it's prevalent with the computers. Oh, we have a computer budget, let's all buy new computers. Do we need new computers? No, but we have money left over in our budget. We need to change an entire philosophy, and I think, again, we haven't been doing that. We've been kind of doing the same thing. Our court system is so far behind the other counties as far as being computerized, being online, doing the different things. We need to catch up. And it's going to be tough, but it's going to take some serious prioritizing. And some of the programs, we can't just go in and go cuts across the board. We really need to work together and look where we're going to have to spend some money in some departments in 1 year. Doesn't mean they're going to get that same money the next year. We need to have a more flexible budget process with all of the departments as needed.
What do other counties do with their courts system that we don't do?
Oh, they're more online
What do you
filing,
mean?
looking at case schedules. What I have heard from the local attorneys and some of the judges, and even, I believe Charlotte had mentioned it before, that the entire court system really needs to have an overhaul, updated computer system.
We
Okay, maybe
I-
it wasn't.
no, I
if
didn't say that.
Okay,
I said that district court is entirely online.
yes, okay. But not, I was thinking it was another day, but I could have been mistaken. I don't want to put in words in your mouth.
Thanks.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
Larry, give us your proposal.
I'm not sure what the question is. It kind of evolved as the two of them talked.
Yeah, what I was trying to get at is when in your opening statement, you said you'd like to apply some lean
Right.
priorities to this. Tell me how you implement that and what it's going to look like.
Oh, okay. Well, Charlotte said that the Department of Community Development is already implementing that, which I think is a good thing because that's probably the worst, least productive department the county has. Excuse me. But I think what we need to do is we need to go in with all the department heads. We need to get the buy-in from them. We need to get the buy-in from the employees. I believe that people doing the work, and this is a philosophy that has served me very well in my own business as well as when I was the mayor. People doing the work are closer to the actual problems, and they're also closer to the best solutions most times. I know in my business when people come to me and say, you know, hey Larry, we got a problem, my first question is, well, what do you think we should do? And that's worked real well, and I think that that's the same approach that I would take in trying to implement this. There are some practices that are part of the program that you have to do, and you know, we would install those and then just go forward from there. I mean, there's a whole lot. It's not something you can sum up in a couple of sentences, and if you're familiar with that, you know what I'm talking about. But you know, there's a whole program, and you just put the program in place.
Does the program cost money?
It probably costs a little bit, but it won't be extraordinarily expensive. I think the county probably wastes as much as it's going to cost.
But this is a formal program that. It's
Oh, do
kind
we
of
have to pay a royalty for it or something?
Yeah, it's kind of an
No.
off-the-shelf thing that people
No,
apply.
not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
It's my turn.
Yeah, if you're in this seat and the county comes next year and says, we need to be more efficient in what we do, we need more lean in what we do, what's your mindset?
I think the very best way to be more efficient is to perform performance audits. I think performance audits will tell you exactly what the department is doing well, what it's doing poorly, how you can maximize the efficiencies, the recommendations from the performance audit. So I think the bottom line is department by department, and you can put their numbers in a little hat so no one thinks that you're targeting their department, but okay, here it is, you got pulled out, we're going to start with the prosecuting attorney's office. And a performance audit will show the taxpayers we are spending their money wisely. I think everybody wants to know that the government is using their money effectively and efficiently. And so when we can demonstrate through performance audits that we are doing that, then if the case comes up where we actually have to ask for more money or we think we need to ask for money, people will go, wow, you're spending our money as wisely as you can. You've you've been transparent, you've shown us these reports, you've implemented the recommendations, and people will go, okay, maybe you do deserve a little bit more of my money because you're spending it wisely. So
How is that done now?
What?
The, kind of the suggestion that each department we looked at and audited and then communicated. Is there a performance audit process in place? Does the department head do it?
Pretty much they do, and then during budget season, we're looking for performance measures within their budget requests according to their mandated responsibilities.
Chris mentioned this. It's something that I know you've campaigned a little bit on, and we've reported about the public-private partnerships when it comes to parks. There's a partnership at Horseshoe Lake. There's a group of citizens up at Wildcat. Give me an example. I'd like each of you to think about something that the county maybe shouldn't be doing, or maybe could be doing in partnership with someone else better, whether it's a cost-saving thing, whether it improves a service. What's one that you would have on your mind and you'd like to drive after right away? We'll start with
I really don't have an agenda as far as something that I'm trying to drive and a specific program that I think could be done better as far as that I know of right now as a private partnership. Because until you get in there, until you see what's going on, until you look at it, I think that would be really presumptuous to say, oh, this could be done better. But when the opportunities arise, keep an open mind, look at it, and go through. I mean, my problem-solving method is you come up with an idea, I like to figure out why it won't work, and then try to make it work. So figure out what the problems are first. Looking at a private partnership as far as the county parks go, that would be a really tough one because you've got liability issues. You've got, where would that be? Would you have vendors coming in who would provide money for maintenance and cleanup in exchange for, having a hamburger stand at one of the parks? I mean, I don't know. Is that something that the community would want? They're all options, and they can be there. And then working with the department heads and DCD and start saying, okay, would this be better than rather than having, a rotation of inspectors coming out and getting different ones, having one person who is hired by the business, go through all the process and reporting to the community. Maybe it would work, maybe it won't work. So I can't really say that I have a clear agenda. I do not, but I am open to looking at every aspect. Some things might work, some things might not.
Well, I don't know that public-private partnership is exactly the right way to phrase that, but I think the users of the park, that we need to reach out to them. I had a meeting recently with the users of Banner Forest. They're very upset that the county wants to close down a lot of the trails. There's 27.1 miles of trails in Banner Forest, and the county wants to reduce them to 6. They're pretty upset. They feel they have maintained the trails and maintained the forest in a responsible manner for years. And I think that we need to reach out to those kind of groups, to the users, and work with them. I had the same thing from somebody talked to me on Saturday about the BMXers at South Kitsap Park. Same thing, said, we're willing to do whatever it takes to police ourselves. We just want the county to stay out of it and leave us alone and help us when we need some. I think we should be responsive to that, and I don't believe the county has been. But I believe that the people using the parks, as citizens, we've all bought and paid for them. We own them. And I think that we ought to get the full use of them, and we're not right now. So I think if we reach out to the people that are the primary users of the park, that there's an accommodation to be had.
As far as private-public partnerships, I certainly think they can work. It always becomes a matter of funding. I would like to mention Larry's comment that they're closing down the trail, some of the trails. I spoke with a member just the other day of the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board, and he said the trails that are being closed are the non-authorized trails. So the county is not actually going out and closing. It's the trails that are not authorized and have been put in basically illegally are the ones that are being closed down. As far as looking towards some new program, I know, like we've talked about, it always becomes funding. I actually have 2 special needs children, and they're teenagers now, so they are actually quite able to do what they'd like and what they need to do. But I was told that there is this beyond accessible playground for children with severe special needs, and it's only $20 per square foot. And of course it is cost, but I would like the county at some point to look into putting that maybe here at Evergreen Park, because Evergreen Park is centralized. Some of the people had been in a wheelchair for their entire life, and it was the first time a young man was able to use a slide. And so it is something that honestly I didn't know existed until recently, and I would like to see Beyond Accessible Play moved forward. They have a donate page. I would certainly be willing to copy it and give you a copy if you'd like. So, you know, I actually commented online about the Parks, Recreation, and Open Space Plan, that they have done a lot for a community partnership with the county, and they've done incredible work all throughout the county. There's so many different organizations that have come together. So I'm hoping that maybe this Beyond Accessible Play can be something on the forefront of everyone's mind when they're looking at what we can do as far as new programs in the county.
Are there other things that you have in the works, functions of the county that you would like to evaluate for this?
For public-private partnerships,
Either.
actually, that's actually how county government does work, is we work as partners with a lot of different folks, businesses, individual citizens in the county. So I think the example of parks is an excellent one. It was just kind of looking at Horseshoe Lake Park, for example, that I said, I know the guy, one of actually a couple of the commissioners down at Key Penn, would there be any possible partnership there? So just beginning to talk to people, you know. I am on the KEDA, Economic Development Alliance board, so it's really easy to talk to them about how the county can be a partner in any way with some of the initiatives that are going on, or how they might be able to be partnering with some of the things that are happening at the county. It's having that accessibility to one another just makes those kinds of conversations happen. And I think they're pretty common sense. Even just listening to Linda's suggestion now of a park, and actually Evergreen Park is in the city of Bremerton.
Well, I know, but it's close.
It says to me, well, yeah, that's Beyond Accessible Playground is something that we could do. So who would like to help support that in the community? What organization exists that might partner with us to help make something like that happen, so that it's not entirely a county responsibility, but the users who might want to be using it would be partners in making it happen. The Rotary has been an extremely valuable partner in a number of parks in the community, especially the most recent was the
I guess,
Building
yeah,
Crystal.
okay, I should be a little more clear. Maybe
Okay.
The 2 that I mentioned were in response to a service the county had provided that was taken away.
That's right.
Like in Wildcat Park. And so maybe that's what I was getting at with you. Is there something else that you'd like to restore that you've had to take
Oh,
away over the
gotcha.
last couple of years?
Okay.
What's the idea to do that?
Well, actually, parks is an important place to begin to restore.
Because that often is the first thing.
Although I have to tell you that when we're talking about the budget and how county needs to be open, the building needs to be open 5 days a week, our general fund, which is the flexible part of our budget, was about $90 million in 2008, and today it's $78 million. That's a significant cut, and that means that we've lost a lot of just plain personnel. When our county administrator resigned to take another job, we have not replaced that function. So we do need, actually, I guess to answer your question more directly, we have a volunteer coordinator for the county who works just like a placement agency. If somebody in the community is looking for some activity, whether it's a park or in our offices of any kind, they come in and they apply with her, tell her what kind of, fill out the form, get the references, tell her what kind of a job they're looking for, getting the skills that they've either got that they want to use with county government, or they want to sharpen of their own. And we have, every year we have an annual celebration of hundreds of volunteers that contribute time to Kitsap County government.
What about that other question? Two people brought that up.
Which?
Opening 5 days a week, getting all the county offices open 5 days a week. Is that a priority to you?
It's important, and it's something that the board needs to talk with all the other electeds and all the departments about. I believe it's important to have the courthouse, the administrative building be open on Fridays. And one way to do that might be to open other days at 9 a.m. instead of 8 a.m. so that we could at least do 4 hours on a Friday. The other thing that we are talking about, because we're doing so much electronically, is people can do a lot of their work online. The auditors, most of the auditors' work is electronic. The treasurer does a lot of work, most of her work electronically. So we can also make it more accessible to people to file the papers they need to online. But yeah, it's a priority. It's, there's a number of priorities, and we'll just have to begin to.
But there's not money available to staff those hours.
Right. What it looks like this year is, it does look like the revenues have stabilized this year, which is a really good thing. It means it looks like it's not going down again this year like it has every year. So stable could mean it gives us the luxury of not working in crisis mode, to begin to look at how we can maybe do things a little bit differently, because responding by just cutting the budget every year doesn't necessarily give you the same ability to decide how best to do things. You do the best you can with the moment that's in front of you.
Right. I want to give the other guys a chance at your opinion on opening the county office again on Friday. What does that look like to you? How do you find money to do that?
I think it's pretty simple as far as there's X number of hours during the week, and it all just becomes a manipulation of the hours on, well, we'll take some from this day, put it here. I had to write a schedule for 100 people, so it became, when did we need the hours, when did we need the people? And so if they work 10 to 3, 10 to 6, depending on what they're currently doing, how can we just take this pool of hours and make it work for the week? So I had to crunch numbers over and over and over in the grocery store, and that's what we did. So there is a pool of hours there. You just need to stretch it out so that it adds Friday to the work week.
Larry?
Basically, I have to agree with that. I mean, that was would be how I would go about it, and how I've done it in my own business. I think we can use flex time, but I think we have a certain core time that we have to be open, and it's just figuring out how to staff it and looking at when people aren't busy and when they are, and when they're needed, and when they're, what are they doing on Facebook, I mean,
Are you talking about shortening the day? Is that what I'm
no,
hearing?
not necessarily.
I'm trying to be
No.
No, but
But-
maybe, I'm so sorry.
Go ahead.
No,
Go
I was
ahead.
just going to say that we used to have it, one person came 7 to 4, then somebody came 8 to 5, then
Yeah.
9 to 6.
Yeah.
So it becomes, where do you juggle those? Are we busy Friday mornings at 9 o'clock? Okay, we'll have 2 people come in at 9, and then somebody can work maybe just a half day, 11 to 4, that kind of.
That's
I think,
exactly
yeah.
it. No,
Yeah.
that's exactly it. I agree with that approach.
That's kind of what you were saying earlier.
So if I could just
Is
add.
there a reason this hasn't happened yet?
Well, actually, if you came in any day of the week and looked around at how limited our staffs are, you can look out over many, many empty desks and see a couple of staffers there, because we've reduced their hours so significantly that we don't have a full-time staff at any time.
If you had to do this thing, what Charlotte's saying, there just aren't enough people to do schedules like this. What's a county service that doesn't need to get done?
Well, oh, sorry, are you asking Larry?
Yeah,
or me?
you asked
Okay,
Larry.
okay. I'm too busy, he looked at me, then he looked at you, then he looked at you longer, I'm like, okay,
You
must
shared
be
the
yours.
last question,
I'm not sure what the question was now. looking at the resources that the county has, is that your question? Looking at the people and the
Yeah.
number of people that they have, and how do we
Yeah.
spread them
You're
out
saying we
among the
just spread
time
these
we
things
need?
around. Charlotte's saying, well, they already are spread around, they can do that.
Well,
So it leads me to think, something gotta go.
Well, I think we need, without, Charlotte's the only person here on the inside. The rest of us are not. So we don't know what the exact staffing levels are. We don't know what the exact needs are. But I think that with using good, solid private sector business management practices, doing the performance audits, looking at how we can consolidate services with other governments and, free up some people doing that, that there's a way to make this work. And using flex time, sit down with the unions and talk to them, there's a way to make it work. It's not how we can't do it or why we can't, it's how do we do it? How do we make it work? And I think we need to look at that. I think there's a way. I'm a great believer that there's opportunity in adversity. And I think that there's an opportunity here that we're not even recognizing, in the fact that we can manage everybody more effectively if we figure this problem out. So.
Chris, we should let you answer this question.
I agree with them. There are opportunities. What's been going on is the National Association of County Commissioners came out with a case study back in March, because again, we're not the only county or state that's been hit by this economy. And what's been happening and what's been going on, and what should have been, in my opinion, been thought about doing years ago, is we need to start looking at restructuring our government, especially at the county level. The county commissioners do not have the power to do this, but it is something that we can work together with our legislators, we can work together with the people, we can start doing a pushback. Maybe it's time, because technology has improved the abilities to do these things, maybe it's time to start looking at combining the assessor's office with the treasurer's office. Do we need an elected assessor making 6 figures throughout 39 counties anymore? Do we need to hire or have an elected coroner when we're hiring a medical examiner to make these distinctions? To me, some of these, the way the system was set up far beyond technology, far beyond even cars doing this. We have maybe outgrown the way that government is being run, and maybe it's time that we take this opportunity to start thinking about overhauling the system. And again, this is not something that the county commissioners can do, but it is something that we can start talking to the people. We can start bringing the discussion up. We can start talking with the legislators, talk with the state. It might come down to bringing a vote of the state of the people. Do we want to restructure? Do we need to have all these elected officials making 6 figures a year? How much staff could we have and provide for doing services to our customers and for the people that we are spending on elected salaries?
How many make 6 figures a year?
I think all the commissioners do. I think the assessor does. And when I say 6 figures, I'm looking at $100,000, but if they're making 80 or 90 with the benefit package, it kicks it up. So I'm not using exact figures, but I do know all the 3 of the commissioners make that. It's again just something that we can start thinking about. I would love to see, and again, I know I cannot do this as a county commissioner, but we could start the process. I would love to have the county commissioners' salaries be commensurate with the median income of the community. That way, if the community thrives, the businesses thrives, and the people make more money, then the county commissioners could make more money.
You just went from total compensation back to salaries. So which one are you talking about? Salaries and benefits, or just salaries?
That is something that I'm not saying it has to be one or the other. I was just saying, as an example, we're spending a lot of money on elected officials. I know the commissioners are 6 figures, so maybe I should just stick with that.
But you're saying you would be willing to right off the bat, cut your own salary if you were elected to that job?
I cannot, but yes, I think I would like to see all of the elected, and like I said, a whole overhaul. And I'm thinking we need to start combining. This is something that we could be planning for the future. Our economy is changing, our business is changing, our technology is changing, yet we are still running the same system of government that was implemented when we became a statehood, a county.
So wait, so you're saying there are things that the county does that they should completely not do? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying that there's things that we can.
Say yes, you have to fundamentally overturn the system.
Uh-huh. There's a lot of counties that are going from, instead of even county commissioners, going to county administrators. I mean, there's different methods and there's different ways of doing things more efficiently and more cost effective for our citizens. And that's what government is supposed to be, providing the services necessary for the community at the most cost-effective way possible. And if the system that we have been running for this long isn't cost-effective, isn't fulfilling the needs.
I guess that's what I'm asking. What's not cost-effective about it? What are they doing that they shouldn't be doing?
Well,
It seems like that's what you're getting at.
we're not open 5 days a week. We have empty desks throughout the county.
But they're doing those tasks, and they just had to trim back and tighten up and
Mhm.
not do them one day. And maybe I'm reading you wrong. It sounds like you're saying we have to give up and stop. Do we have to
No.
stop having public safety? Do you have to,
No.
What are you saying?
No, I'm just saying that we need to maybe start streamlining. Do we need to be spending, $320 million in a budget? Is this really necessary? I mean, that is a lot of money. I know the county commissioners, just the 3 of them in the budget, it's costing the county $1.2 million. Or what are the county commissioners giving $1.2 million every year of your taxpayers' money service?
What is 1.2 million?
For the whole department of the county commissioners, it's in the budget.
Oh, and all including all of the staff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could I just
Yes,
jump in
please.
here? Some of the efficiencies, we must not be getting the word out very well about, because the assessor and the treasurer work so well together and have over the last few years that they have completely reduced their own staffs and implemented a lot of paperless work. And I think that they probably are indicative, I mean, they could be icons across the state for, I think, what an assessor-treasurer system could look like. I think
Good.
they've really done a wonderful job of reducing their expenditures, still producing the same output.
They are sharing staff members. Is that what you're
They
saying?
don't necessarily share staff members, but they have reduced their own staffs individually very significantly.
I need to open this up for anyone else
Yeah,
that
I
may have a
have-
question.
I have a
Go ahead.
question. For all 4 candidates, what do you see as the most urgent transportation or infrastructure issues facing Kitsap County? And would you be willing to sacrifice other programs to address them?
Let's let Linda start. I don't think that.
I think the number one thing we need to look at is that the phase 2 and phase 3 of the Skia Crossroads project, that money or the money that's been available, I was told that there was $2 million that could have gone to Skia. One of the port commissioners was talking to me about it, but yet instead now it's been set aside in a bank account for the Buckland Hill Road expansion. And when I looked at PSRCs, all the projects that are in the queue for funding, the Skia project is not there at all. I know that Skia is primarily a city. The city now owns a good portion of the South Kitsap industrial area, but it becomes one of those partnership things. If we're going to grow our economy and attract manufacturing jobs, I think we need to look at Skia and maximizing what we can do there to attract businesses.
Where would you get the money to fund it if it's not currently budgeted?
Well, the money that was voted on not too long ago, there was $2 million that would have actually paid for phase 2, but it was decided that money would be put aside for the Buckland Hill Road expansion instead. So at least that money was there and would have paid for phase 2, and then we would still need to be looking for funding for phase 3.
I am going to say the same thing. I serve on the Kitsap Aerospace and Defense Alliance, and I believe that SKIA has the best opportunity for us to grow jobs in this county, and growing jobs is the way out of this economic mess, I think. It's the way that the county is going to be able to increase its own revenues. We create jobs, we create paychecks, those paychecks get spent in the county and generate sales tax revenue, and that's what the county runs on. Also, I think we've got to fix Gorst. I think Gorst is, the number one thing. The cost of Gorst is absolutely astronomical, as I found out from when I was mayor and served on a couple of different things. And also the 4-lane road out to the industrial park in SKIA. I think that's very critical. Where the money would come from, I think we need to be very aggressive about looking at federal transportation grants, looking at state grants, looking at anybody that hands out money, but we need to be especially aggressive at PSRC. They're the ones that hand out our transportation money. We get the least amount of anybody from PSRC, and I think that it's time for us to jump up and down, stand on the table, do whatever we need to do. But I think that, there's a source of money right there. And our needs are every bit as important as the needs of King County, which gets the lion's share of the money, and Snohomish and Pierce fight over what's left except for the little bit we get. I think it's our turn. I think they need to recognize if they want us to be part of their organization, that we have needs as well, and they need to be addressed at the same priority level as the other 3 counties.
I tend to agree. I mean, SKIA and Gorst and these other areas. What concerns me is looking at the projects that are ongoing right now, or the Buckland Hill that they're trying to find funding, is that we're getting in grant money. But unfortunately, grant money is taxpayer money, and we need to match that. And when that money is coming out of the funds that we already have, what is being shorted? These are things that I can't answer because I'm not on the inside. But if you're going to match 5.8 million, 2.4 million, 1.3 million, depending on which project you're talking about, that money's coming from someplace. So either you had an excess in the fund to be able to match that, or someplace you're going to be taking that money away from and needed a necessary service.
So what's the solution?
Maybe start looking at projects like Linda was talking to. I was also talking to the court commissioners, is if you've got so much money and that can be used to complete a project, let's complete that project and see where it can bring us in some revenue, so then we can move on to the next project to complete it, rather than diverting the funds away from one project that could be completed and put it into a project that, well, someday might get completed as soon as we can find the rest of the money.
And just very briefly, Peter also asked what area or what project would be your priority?
SKIA.
Mine would be Highway 3, but I want to talk about the SKIA South Kitsap Industrial Area just momentarily, because actually for PSRC to make a choice, the recommendation comes from the Kitsap Regional Coordinating Council's work with the RTPO, the Transportation Planning Organization over here. And so the Kitsap recommendation was not for the South Kitsap Industrial Area to be the top choice. And so I'm not on that particular subcommittee of KRCC, but I know that that's where the recommendation came to PSRC from. I think Highway 3 is really important. Actually, I know that the state, it's a state highway, so it's not our responsibility, but the State Department of Transportation has shown us their plans to do Highway 3, clear it into Mason County, and then through Kitsap and joining, going up Highway 16. So that is something that is on their plan, and they will begin on the Belfair, on the Mason County side of the line, and slowly come through, widening and improving the Kitsap side of Highway 3. And I think that that's really important. We have a lot of accidents out there. A lot of our commerce, a lot of our economic development happens out at the port, and I think it's really important. The Skia Road that is the second piece of one that's being talked about today. The first piece is actually the one that connects to Highway 3 so that people can get into the airport from that. The back piece that they're talking about now actually goes back and connects to private property that's back behind it. So I really think that Highway 3 is an important connection, and improvements to that will be really valuable to us. I don't want to go away without saying Washington State Ferry shouldn't have a lot of attention though too, because 4 of our state highways end at the water and continue across on the other side. And I believe that Washington State Ferries needs to be paying attention to funding new vessels, and they do have one 144 car vessel under construction for us now, and that was because we have a group called Ferry Community Partnership that is government and citizens that meets lots of times during the year and puts together some recommendations to the ferry system and Department of Transportation, the Transportation Commission, and advocates for those.
David, I've got one question.
Go for it, Bob.
What's your plan if Silverdale incorporates and there's a loss of revenue to the county?
Well, I guess everybody's looking at me. I mean, that's going to be a
I
seven.
think we're all going to shoot ourselves.
That will be a $7 million hit, and it looks like, I mean, that's the sort of thing that we are still talking about. What would we do with another $7 million reduction? It would not affect us if it took effect when they're planning to do it in the next few months next year. It wouldn't affect the county until 2014 at the earliest, and that gives us additional time to plan for contingencies. But yeah, it's going to be serious.
Others?
I think we should be planning for it now. I think the planning should be already going on. It's not an if Silverdale incorporates, but a when. And I think that we should be we should be running the numbers now. What is it going to cost? How much are we going to get back in services that we would contract for? What services would Silverdale want to contract with the county for? So that'll reduce the amount that we have to backfill. But also, what is the cost of providing the services now that we won't have to provide? But we ought to be just planning on what it's going to take, how the transition is going to go, what it's going to cost, what the reductions are going to be, and where we can find the economies that we're going to need to have to make. There's going to be hard choices there for sure, but I think that we need to be looking at it now, not waiting for it to happen to us. I think we need to be proactive, not reactive.
I agree. I think that we do need to be planning for this. But the other thing is whether or not it gets voted up or gets voted down. One thing I think nobody's really been talking about is why do they feel it's necessary to do this? Again, looking across the country and what's going on, the trend is for cities to be working with the counties to better provide services, not to, become cities and start up. I think that Silverdale has felt so disenfranchised by our county commissioners over the years that they're feeling like they have no choice. They're not getting the say, they're not getting their representation. So we not only, as county commissioners, need to start looking at what are we going to do with the lost revenue. We also should be looking at, well, if the people do not vote it for, what do we need to do to make them happy so they won't in the future feel the need that they need to become a city?
I just think that having discussions about the possibility or the most definite certainty of incorporation. I think spending a little bit of time on it is a good thing. Spending lots of time on it is not a good thing. You just don't plan for something that might happen, might not happen. I know the county, I've talked with people that work at the county, and when people retire and they don't fill that position, they're already working hard. I know they are because they tell me I'm doing lots of work. I stay after or to make their department work effectively and efficiently. So I think talking about it is great, but until it actually happens, I just don't think we should invest too much time in a what if.
If I can follow up a little, actually our special projects folks do look at the numbers on a regular basis, and you know there was another effort about 10 or 12 years ago, and we have data from that, so we have plenty of data. We don't really have the new folks who would be putting a government in place in the city to begin negotiating and working with about what services we can provide. And though that's one of the major things that we're waiting for.
We have about enough time for.
Okay, one more question.
Let's make this the last question. You got it.
Okay, you've already stated your opinion on the Shoreline Management Act. I'll dovetail on asking a more general question. Do you believe that the county should take an activist role in protecting this unique environment in Kitsap County? If not, why not?
Is it my turn now to go first?
Yeah, why don't we let Linda, Larry, Chris, and Charlotte.
You spoke.
Well, you looked at me, and then it was who is everyone looking at me?
Fielding it first.
I think we need to protect the environment. Of course, we need to protect the environment for future generations. I just think, in my personal opinion, is that the Growth Management Act goes a little bit too far. My husband's a Kitsap County Deputy Sheriff, and he tells me that people who are going to break the law are going to break the law. So the people who are going to dump their paint thinner in the stream, they're going to do it anyway. So laws are there to protect the environment, but in my opinion, oftentimes they are a little bit too restrictive. So that would be my position.
I believe that we definitely have a responsibility to protect the environment. And I think that most people want to do the right thing. I think that there's an education component that's missing here, and what we've tried to do is take a one-size-fits-all, beat you over the head approach to this, as opposed to educating people about what are good practices to protect the environment. I think we have a responsibility to protect private property rights as well as the environment. I think we need an educated balance, and we need to protect them equally.
My original question was, should the county take an activist role?
I think we should take an activist role in educating citizens. What are good practices?
Go ahead.
We're looking at me now, it's my turn.
We will.
No, it is not the government's role to be activist. Should we take that into consideration when making decisions on whether or not a type of business, a type of building is going to be in a suitable location? Yes, what I would like to see is that if somebody is breaking the law, ruining the environment or harming it in any way, that the county takes swift and severe action against those individuals rather than trying to make a blanket policy that would be hindering the innocent and assuming that someday they may be guilty.
I don't know quite how you define activist, but we have.
With regards to personal property rights, is one of the things I did not say, and those factors that touch on people.
Mm-hmm. Well, the Shoreline Management Plan actually was put together by a group of citizens from different walks of life, and they talked over the issues at length and made the recommendations of what our Shoreline Management Plan would look like. So my sense is we actually, it only applies to new development. It does not apply to anything that currently is existing because that's considered conforming. So there's no problem for those who already have something developed. The new development, however, I think we really should consider what we know today might be harmful. And so I agree with the statement about education. We have a shoreline management, surface and stormwater management division of Public Works that actually has some great educational programs about what some of the habits that we have as humans that can be damaging in running off, water that runs off into our Puget Sound and into our water bodies. They actually disseminate some of their funding to the conservation districts so that they can work with a certain sector of the community, to WSU to do stream monitoring, with the health district to do some monitoring. So we are getting that education piece out. I think that paying attention to when new development's going in, what damage it can cause or not cause. And we have lots of natural methods, just different kinds of plantings even, that can retard toxics or surface water runoff. So and it's the speed of the water as well as the toxics that might be carried with it. We're just trying to reduce that. And so the active role, maybe the next thing is to begin to look at how else, what other methods are they? Low impact development is wonderful. What other options are there?